Hi, everyone. I'm Tara. Welcome to Time Out with Tinseltown Mom. This episode is brought to you by my blog coaching program. As a publisher with a master's in professional writing, I've been blogging for over 10 years, and many of my blog posts are on the first pages of Google, with some getting over 100,000 in views and millions of impressions. If you're an entrepreneur looking to add a blog to your business so you can generate more traffic to your website, thus getting more sales, or if you're a mom looking to start a blog as a creative outlet that you can monetize, then I can help. I can assist with narrowing down your blogging niche, SEO-friendly blog post ideas that bring in views, support with creating your first blog post. I can also help you come up with a content strategy, plus provide guidance on tracking your views and other data. If you fall into either one of those categories, then email me at info@tinseltownmom.com for more information and a customized quote. Spots are limited, but again, that email address is info@tinseltownmom.com. On today's episode, I'll be speaking with Mignon Francois, entrepreneur, renowned baker, and #1 national best-selling author of the book Made from Scratch: Finding Success Without a Recipe. Today, we're going to talk about how she went from a struggling single mom with $5 in her hand to a multi-million-dollar cupcake entrepreneur. Hi, Mignon. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. So I feel like I know about your story. A lot of maybe my audience have not heard about you yet. I'm sure some of them have. But before we really get into the heart of your story, why don't you just tell us what you always thought you wanted to be when you were growing up?
I always thought I was going to be a doctor, in fact.
Oh,
Yeah. I
okay.
didn't know that. And I knew as a kid I would be famous. I would tell my mom that I'm going to be famous one day. I didn't know what for. And she would just say, well, go ahead and be famous, baby.
Wow.
But I knew that I knew that God didn't waste this fabulous name I have on nobody knowing it. Like, you don't just get a name like this and it's just supposed to sit in a box.
Exactly. So you're a child, you're thinking you're going to be a surgeon. So fast forward, I heard that you went to college at 16 years old. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, how did that happen?
I was always a really smart kid. I started college when I was 16. My mother was moving away to another city that she had gotten a job to move away. And I didn't want to be a senior in a new school in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I decided that I wanted to ramp up my education and graduate early. So I graduated out of the 11th grade. Took one summer class and walked with my class the following year, but I started at Xavier a year early.
Wow. And how was college life for you at 16? That's really young to be around a lot of adults.
That is very young to be on a college campus, and nobody prepared me for the party that would be my life.
Yes.
And so I ended up bringing home a baby bumblebee second semester.
Oh, wow. Okay. Were you still in college during that time as a mom, or what happened?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I had such good friends in my life. They all changed their schedules. We worked our schedules around me. And when one of us wasn't in class, the other one had the baby inside of the student center.
Okay. Now, did you finish college, or what happened after that?
I did. It took me from 1991 to 1999 to graduate.
But
so
you
almost
did it.
10 years.
You did it with one baby? Did you just have one baby?
No, that's when my life happened. I did it with a husband, and I did it with 3 additional children that I got from the marriage. And then I had another baby in the process. So I graduated. I walked across the stage with 5 babies.
Wow. And you were young still. You walked across the stage with 5 babies. Okay.
5 babies.
And I know today you say you have 6 children plus 1 bonus, right? So you're really a mom of 7, right?
Yeah, I'm a mom of 7. In the process, about 2 years after I graduated and we had moved to Atlanta, I had another baby. I remember wanting to pass. I just fainted when I found I was pregnant. I was like, again, and I just love God and how he loves us. It doesn't matter what we think is best for us. He knows what's best for us. And that
Hmm.
baby has been such a blessing, such a protector for me. And I would not ever change anything about him for the world. So
Right.
yeah. And then our final daughter, she attached herself to us. So when she was a high school student, we take on high school students through this program, and she was always getting in trouble in school. And I was like, it's not my kid. This is the girl I see every day. And the school started calling us and asking us to come for parent teacher conferences and things like that. And ended up progressing into her moving into our house until now she's just one of the crew. And so she's one of my children who celebrates all of our family traditions. Everybody knows her. She's everybody's niece and everybody's her auntie or uncle. Like
Uh-huh.
she just became one of them, and we raised her through high school on up to college. And now she's turning 30 next month, and
Wow.
she's a manager on our team.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, I love how you have your kids, like most of your kids are working for you now or working with you, right? In
Yeah,
your
yeah,
empire.
yeah.
So
I love that word,
it
empire.
is, yeah. So rewind. So now you're a mom of seven, you're married. During the marriage, no, you're not married
Oh,
at that time.
I'm not married now. I
Uh,
was married then.
You're
Yes.
married at
Mhm.
that time and you face some financial hardships, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we were drowning in debt and brokenness. We were using a generator during the nighttime so that our children could have normalcy. And in the daytime, I would sit in the house in darkness just so that I could save the gas from the generator that they could have normalcy. I was going to the store to buy water in bottles to fill up the tub and warm it in the backyard when my neighbor knocked on the door. I was sitting in the back of my house doing this cash stuffing plan that Dave Ramsey has for getting out of debt. And I realized I only had $5 to my name when my neighbor asked me to make cupcakes for all of her clients. And so I leveraged that $5 by going to the store and buying whatever I could buy with that five and turn it into 60 that day. And I turned that 60 into 600 by the end of the week. And it's been that same money that I've been flipping for the last 17 years because it took me 2 years to open the store. As if it was already open, I was working, even though I was just getting some money and buying a spoon, getting some money and buying a bowl. And it was those grass efforts that allowed me to walk out into the street and see strangers who were real estate agents who were showing houses. Hey, my name is Mignon Francois. I'm a mom. I live across the street. I've got a bakery coming soon. My family says it's good. Will you taste it? And those people began to offer me money right on the street for what it is that I had in my hand.
Wow. And I know before that, didn't you, because you saw this coming, and I know you've mentioned Dave Ramsey and his principles. Was that the financial peace seminar?
Yeah.
We did that as
Mhm.
well, actually. Yeah. Were you using his
I
principles when you
I
flipped
was
this?
using his principles, but I wasn't in his program. I was an
Okay.
avid listener, so I was always listening to the radio, and I heard the people screaming on the radio, "We're debt free," and I wanted what they were screaming about, and so I decided to just try it. And I began when I realized that I could make money having a bake sale. That's essentially what I was doing. I decided I would do a bake sale every single day. And it was from there that I began to take money and hide money so that I could gather enough money to pay bills. And I was able to garner enough cash to buy things that I needed to open the store. What I hope the other moms here, I was a stay-at-home mom when my husband of 21 years asked me for a divorce.
Hmm.
And my question was, how am I supposed to take care of myself when my whole life and my whole job has been taking care of your children? And so that's why we made the decision to move forward with getting the bakery open because I needed something that I could do all along, these skills that I had, this degree that I had that I felt was wasted and I wasn't using, was actually being used for my children's benefit, for their good, because I was managing our household. Even though it was a little bit, I knew how to steward over what we had. And I've been
Mhm.
able to use my life as a living example for them as to what they could do if they believe. And so they
Mhm.
saw the grit of their mother, and that's what paid for them to get through college. I now have two that have completed degrees in business, and one that is in the army and that is a sergeant. And the other three, one is a stay-at-home mom that I'm so proud of. She works on the side doing things, but mostly she's there to take care of her daughter, which is what she was groomed to do.
Mhm.
And then one that's an artist and one that's a regional director over a voltage company. So all of them are very successful. And it was what they saw me doing, managing their time, managing our money, managing their gifts, speaking into them what I wanted to see. And I hope that other mothers see that this is value that you're adding, even though you might not
Mhm.
have an actual paycheck if you stay at home, or if you don't get the luxury, because it is a luxury to be able to stay at
Mhm.
home. Maybe like me, you had to go into the workforce because daycare come out of the workforce because daycare costs too much.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford it. So I had to go out and do side hustle things when my children were home with their father or home with their aunt or home with my mother, so that I could bring in something to help the ends meet.
Yeah.
And I hope they know that they're no different from that other person who has a skill set behind a desk, that you're
Yeah.
still building skills that you can use.
Yeah. I love that you're saying that. Like stay-at-home moms, like a lot of them are good with organization, family planning, accounting, bookkeeping. Like there's so much, like so
Event
many
planning.
gifts.
What are these birthday parties we're doing
Yes,
and these huge baby
exactly.
reveals? And
Exactly.
when you're a stay-at-home mom, especially, your friends call you and say, "Can you do this thing for me?" So now all of a sudden, I'm a personal assistant.
Yes. Yes. And you were able to use all of those stay-at-home mom gifts and
Yeah.
use that for your empire, which I love. So
Yeah.
going back a little bit more, so when you have $5 to your neighbor asked you to make those cupcakes. Were you married at the time or were you a single
Yeah.
mom?
I
You were married.
was.
You were married.
Mhm.
When you started your business 2 years later, were you by
I
yourself?
was still married.
You were still
So we
married.
had decided to get a divorce as we were opening up the business. But life started lifing.
Mm-hmm.
And we started just handling life, and our children are growing and graduating. And we end up staying together, I think, another 7 years,
Mm.
another 6 or 7 years before our divorce actually became final.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So did you guys open the business together or is this your baby?
This is my baby.
That's your baby. Okay.
This was
So
the
you,
job I had and the thing that I did. Everything about it was created by me.
yes. And do you feel like you open this bakery or you open this bake sale and
Mhm.
you weren't even passionate about making cupcakes
Couldn't
or
even bake out of
baking.
a box. Couldn't
Now,
even bake out of a box. But all
yes.
you have is all you need to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And I think this is what it looks like when your gifts, speaking of moms, your gifts will make room for you.
Mm-hmm.
And as I began to practice what I had been doing as a college student 17 years earlier, now came back to serve me as a mom trying to make a recipe in my kitchen. I used chemical reactions to get me there. I
Mm-hmm.
used my knowledge of science that I couldn't apply to the human body, and I applied it to flour, butter, sugar, and eggs, and started making recipes. And those were the things I went out into the market and tested with people who I saw walking on the street. And I'm a very shy person, but all of a sudden you let shy get thrown in the back when you need to feed your kids. Like, how many moms out there will do what they need to do so their children can eat? That
Yes.
was my story. And
Yeah.
so um I applied what I did realize in science to what my grandmother was trying to teach me. And together we came up with something that I could do. But the first iteration, it was a mess. The first generation, it was ugly, hot mess. But as I tried to go back again and I looked at what she had shown me and I applied science to that, I figured out what they meant about balancing equations. And I began to balance my chemical reaction
Mhm.
and knew then that I could manipulate the whether the cake was dense or whether it was loose or what kind of level of moisture that was going to be in there. All kinds of things that God began to show me as I move forward. Because these were not things that I could have actively done unless I was working toward it. And I think this is what it looks like. Faith without work is dead. I
Mhm.
had the faith to believe that I could do something with this bake sale, but if I didn't work on it, it wasn't going to be anything.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. Yes. And God used all of those skills, like the science, the management, the love that you showed to your kids, like you put that in your cupcakes and whoever comes to your door. I think you said in one interview that you believe that everyone who comes to you, there's a reason for them
They're
coming to you.
sent.
They're
Yeah.
sent to you. Yes.
Yeah.
That
I
resonated with
believe
me.
everybody who crosses through that door was sent. And this is why I think that I was sitting in my bakery early on and I thought people were going to come. Like that first day, the first, couple of days, like everybody comes and you have sellout. And this is going to be great. Thank you, Lord, for this idea. You have been faithful. And then nothing. And I remember sitting there sometimes making all these cupcakes and then they just go in the trash because I believed that baking was supposed to be fresh every day. And then I started going out and giving what was left over and, blessing people with extra when they would, buy anything. And I remember my ex-husband called me one day and asked me how it was going. I was sitting in a chair in the bakery by the phone, just waiting for anybody to come. And I opened up my mouth to begin to complain about the fact that I only made $17 that day. And just as I was in the midst of opening my mouth to complain, God quickened in my spirit, anything you get, I gave it to you.
Mm.
So anything you get is not a surprise to me. And everything that comes to that door, I send them because we don't do anything of our own, And so I believe that everybody who comes to my door have been sent. And so we receive, we want to just treat them like, they might be angels. We are, serving unaware. And so we want to serve them from a place of servant leadership. And I love how the girls on my front end really treat this job as if it was ownership for them. And it even goes down to the relationship that I have with this team that I teach them. I'm not your boss, I'm your client. So it puts you in the position of ownership or you in the position of boss, right? You're going to tell
Mhm.
me how the business is going on the front end and what I should expect and what is it that you see. And I've hired you or I'm the client that you're serving for a service that I need. So with that, no one on my team ever gets fired. I just
Mm.
take my business elsewhere.
Oh, I love that. That's awesome. So,
It puts the responsibility, the onus on you working for your contract.
mhm. Yes, absolutely. So you start your business 2 years after you open your bake sale. How many employees did you have? Was it just you? And then how
It
many
was just
employees?
me.
Just you
I,
baking
I
it in
was
your
I was a
home.
team of I was a team of one.
A team of one. You
Yeah.
started with one employee, you, and then now how many employees do you have today? How many years? 17 years later?
It's 17 years for me, 15 for the store because it took me two
Oh,
years to open it.
right.
So let's see, between locations, it's gonna be hard.
You can say
Th-
approximate.
there's about 17 or 18 of us
Oh, okay. And you opened your first brick and mortar shop in Nashville. Is that correct?
in 2008. Yeah.
2008. And how many do you have today?
I have I have two stores under construction in Nashville right now. I have one brick and mortar in Nashville. I have a food truck in Nashville, and I have a store in New Orleans.
And then how far into your business did you decide, okay, there's people all over the world who want my cupcakes. I need to start selling online. When did that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
happen?
We didn't become an e-commerce site until I believe 2020.
Was
I
that
don't think
during
we got
COVID? Was that during COVID?
yeah. hmm Either it was 2018 or 2020 that we actually turned into an e-commerce site where you could where you could actually buy online.
Mm.
We started shipping back in 2010 using FedEx. And this year we won FedEx Small Business Grant um, for our business, having applied for that grant for 11 years straight.
Wow.
And all this has happened as they've watched us grow to about 30%, 30 or 40% of our business happens online. And having done that and practiced that before the pandemic, it was able to save us in the pandemic.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I was going to bring that up because I know you started your store in a recession, right? In 2008.
Yeah.
And now it's pretty much recession proof because I know during COVID, at least I was doing a lot of baking. I would have loved to have ordered cupcakes instead of having to bake. So today I know that you want to leave a legacy like for your kids. Is how important do you think that is, like just for mothers listening, like something that they start, like
Yeah.
leaving that for their children? Like
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
That I have big thoughts on this. So somebody wanted to leave that for me, and I want to leave something greater to my children. There's a Bible verse that says, a wise man or woman leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And when I think about what we're doing today, we understand the responsibility that we have to pass this on, not only what we're doing, the process by which we're doing it, but the the benefit of what we're doing, because the people who came before us didn't have the same opportunity that we have today. So we're standing in position that my parents didn't have privilege of. And my father was born on a sugarcane plantation.
Hmm.
So to know that one generation later, we're building wealth and leaving a legacy in the same industry that his parents didn't have the potential to grow resources and income for themselves. And
Hmm.
now here we are pushing forward a family name and a recipe that my grandchildren are learning right now how to
Hmm.
use and how to take care of as they walk through new doors. And so that's what it means to me to pass this on. This is a passing on of more than just what Mignon Francois did. It's a passing on of the grit and the legacy of those people whose blood it runs in my veins, whose faces and names you'll never know,
Yeah.
who I'm connected to that you'll never know were yours to behold or to belong.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so good. There are some moms that are listening. They have certain gifts inside of them. You know, maybe they feel stuck in their life and they
Yeah.
want to do things, or maybe they've tried something, but let's take your example. You made all these cupcakes and nobody bought them. So they had to dump them in the trash. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
they're in that situation right now. Like,
Yeah.
I believe you're a motivational speaker, whether you want to be or not, you are. What would you say to those moms?
I would tell them to start where they are. For those who just believe that they can, I would say start it where you are. 94% of Americans are waiting for some major thing to happen in order for them to just start. So that's the first thing that I would say. I would say the key to digging yourself out is knowing what out looks like for you. So you have to make a plan of what out looks like for you. And if you don't know where that is, then any road will take you there and you won't know when you have arrived. So
Hmm.
I would say that the voice inside of your head that's telling you you're not good enough, or telling you that you can't do this, or telling you that you can't make it, is the one that's absolutely telling you a lie. And I would say define what the problem is that you want to solve. I talk about this extensively in the book. Define what problem it is that you want to solve. And so when you're in it, you don't know what you're in. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know that you're digging yourself out of this thing, but you know that you're working hard, towards a thing. And so I map out how I did it. So when you're stuck, once you started and then you get stuck, it's like, what do you need to look at to adjust and say, let me take down these offerings, or let me do this a different way? How do you handle your own children when maybe they're not complying with what it is that you want them to do? You adjust. And so it's the same thing when you're in your business. You make an adjustment, you change your product offering, you ask questions and conduct experiments, and you gather data. that inform you as to what it is that I'm going to do differently to move this needle in my household. The same thing goes with your business. And you can take the experiences from inside your home and apply them right to your business. Does
That's
that make sense?
excellent. That's excellent. I try to instill that in my kids too. Let's say there's a hardship that happens. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we feel, oh, God is telling me to do this. He's telling me to start this. And then all of a sudden we start it. We're in a situation where it's challenging, or maybe the needle's not moving like we wanted it to. And then it's like, oh, maybe that wasn't God. Because we think it's
Yeah.
all supposed to be easy and just happens so flawlessly.
Yeah. Well, anything that's easy to get is also easy to quit.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
it's not going to be easy, because if it was easy, everybody else would be doing it.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then you wrote a beautiful book. In this, is this a memoir?
I think it's not only is it a look back over how I went from where I was to where I wanted to be, but it's also a playbook on faith. For you, when you get into those spaces of stuckness, when you get into those places where you feel like your feet are in peanut butter and you're trying to run a race, you know, that you are not alone and someone is anointed to help you. That the situations that you are not by yourself. And I get really vulnerable in this book about the things that I went through, including my children, the challenges that my children watched me face, and how doing it in front of them has made me who I am and who they are today. And I think it started with looking for the lesson always in what was happening to me. And if you look for the lesson, that you would be able to find that you're not a victim. I never wanted to be a victim of my own situation. I wanted the things that were happening to me to be actually for me. And what I learned in the process is there's a Bible principle that says all things work together in tandem for the good of them who love God and are called according to his purpose. That means all things, all of the time, no matter what it looks like, are working together for my good. So
Hmm.
that means that this is for whatever it is for me. It's not to me. If I can take something away. And I started realizing that God was sending me women who had been through the exact same things that I had gone through. So I had to go through them and get the victory so that they would know that the victory is also theirs. It
Mm.
won't always be like this.
Mm-hmm. And what are some key principles you think people might take away from the book when they read it?
Yeah. I think one of the things I hope people hear me say is speak what you seek until you see what you've said. There is power of life and death in your tongue. It's shown to us in the beginning of time in the creation story that God spoke the world into existence and then sent in the Christian religion a son to die for our sins, and then took that son back to heaven and sent us a Holy Spirit to show us all the ways to go. All of this that came out of speaking something into existence. And that same thing that God gave to his son, he also gave to us in the Holy Spirit, which is what the Bible tells me to be true. And so if we speak things that we want, we can speak things even though they don't look like we want them to look, the way that we want them to be, and then they become that thing. It's just like this room that I'm sitting in right now is the result of words that somebody said. This podcast that we're talking on today is a result of words that you said. I want to do this podcast. I want to do it for women. I want to do it for this reason. These were words that you said, and it manifested itself out of the things that you spoke. So that's one thing I hope that they take away. Speak what you seek until you see what you said. And then I would tell them to be quitter. You know, everybody else is telling you, stop being a quitter, be a quitter. Go ahead and quit. All of the times in my life that I have quit on myself, I never quit on anybody else. But what I'm telling you is go ahead, clap it up and be a quitter. Quit quitting. If you're going to quit anything, then quit quitting. No matter how hard it is, keep going. Quit quitting on you. And I would say that all you have is all you need to get you from where you are to where you want to be. It money, experience in the business, knowledge of the product, and credit were all things I didn't have to open a business known for failing when you have all of those things. And here I am, voted the number one bakery in Tennessee, best cupcake in Louisiana, and one of the top 10 in the nation, all from a girl who couldn't bake, not even out of the box. But I believed. And I promised God, if he would make me successful, I would tell anybody who would listen about that, about what you could do if only you believe. What are you willing to say about you? Because when you sit with yourself, you hear yourself talk about yourself more than anything you hear all day long.
That's so powerful. That was a great ending, actually. Thank you so much. I think your next book needs to be a book of quotes by you, because you have great quotes.
Thank you so much. I need to write that one down. I receive it.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mignon, for being here. Now, where can people go if they want to buy your book or some of your delicious cupcakes?
Thank you so much. So the book is available on Amazon. For those who are listening who already might have it, just the compliment of a review propels the book. So it's called Made from Scratch, Finding Success Without a Recipe. And then they can also go on the cupcakecollection.com and they can ship cupcakes nationwide through our partnership with FedEx. And then they can follow me on Instagram at my first last name. That's Mignon.François, where I actually interact with people. And it's my favorite place to be found on the web.
Hey, moms, thanks for listening today. If you enjoy this show, I would love to hear from you by way of an encouraging review. This podcast is meant to be a blessing to mothers, so I appreciate any support for this platform. Until next time.